Hello, welcome to a new course, Synapses, Neurons and the Brains. This is a very unique times. You came in a very unique times for this course because you may know that there were at the same time, almost at the same time, two big announcements. Europe decided to have a very dramatic new project. They call it the Human Brain Project. We will talk about this later on through the course. And then President Obama about a month ago also declared a huge American project for the brain. So the brain is now in the focus of the world, I would say. There is a very good reason for it. We'll discuss it later on. And in this course, the focus of this course is to give you more the details of the brain, because after all, what we do really relies on signals and anatomy of a particular system in the brain, systems in the brain, and I would like to introduce you this particular system. I would like you to learn or study what are neurons. I would like you to understand what is the connection between neurons, the synapses, and I would like you to understand how network of neurons eventually generate a behavior. So this is my role, and if by the end of this course you will go in the street and you will think about neurons and you will understand what synapses are and you will know what are the ingredients of your brain, then I feel that I made my job and I will be happy. I hope you will be too. So let's start. Let's start with the course. So to kickstart, I want to start with a few great thinkers thinking about the brain. And then I want to give you a little bit of a perspective about the brain, because after all, the brain started a long evolution to become what we are today. I want to just highlight the fact that we are now in the middle of a blossoming. As I said, a lot of interesting things are happening. It's a very special time, and I want just to highlight a few occasions, also in Jerusalem, here in Israel. And eventually I want to start with the structure of the brain, the centers, how the centers of brain are working, how do we start to do research in brain. And then I want to tell you that the brain is a big problem. It is a problem because it has so many layers of description, and all this layer of description requires each one of them particular focus. So let's start with the big thinkers. And these are the two big thinkers. This is Francis Crick. You may know him, Nobel laureate, together with Watson, on the genetic code. And this is Claude Shannon, the father of information theory. And Crick said, it's a very well-known sentence, beautiful sentence. You, your joys, sorrows, your memories, and your ambitions, your sense of personal identity, and your free will are in fact no more than the behavior of a vast assembly of nerve cells and their associated molecules. So all that we have here, basically, is a collection of interacting elements, molecules, proteins, nerve cells, synapses. All of us, our emotions, all of us, our creativity, all of us, our sorrows, come from the physics of the brain. And another thinker said the following: machine think, because after all we are machines. You bet. We are machines and we think, don't we? Claude Shannon. So we have to start with understanding that we are machines, very beautiful machines, amazing machines, but we are physical entities. The brain and the heart and the muscle and the bones are physical machines. The brain is a unique one, but still a machine. And the neuroscientist needs to understand this machine in physical terms. Let's go to another huge thinker, and he says the following: the most incomprehensible thing about the world is that it is at all comprehensible. This means that we have tools, our brain itself as a tool to understand things. It could be physics, it could be the universe, and it could be the brain, hopefully. So, what is the root to understanding the brain? This is basically what is the course about. What is the root? What is the foundation? Let's start again with a little bit of evolution. So 3.5 billion years ago, life started on Earth, and we became later on, and very recently, very recently, we started to really systematically, scientifically study the brain. A little movie that I took from the YouTube, so you can see in 30 seconds the evolution of life on Earth. 3.5 billion years ago, there was this little bacteria. Bacteria already has genome, it's DNA. Later on, recently, 5 million years ago, fish came into the earth, more sophisticated, more complex entity, more complex animal. Slowly, 300 years, million years ago, we see already reptiles in the world. And the mammals, we are part of the mammalian world. 200 million years ago, mammals. And then you see primates, we are primates. And eventually, 200,000 years old, already only 200 years ago, which is really, really nothing in terms of evolution, here we are. So we are humans, or Homo sapiens sapiens. We are populating the world, 7 billion of us. This is who we are, very young and very ambitious and very creative young species. Let's look at the brain of the mammalians. The mammalian brain, as I said, 200 million years ago, started as a very small, with a skull, with under the skull what we call the cortex. This cortex grew up, became convoluted and complicated below the skull, a complex system that gives us all that we can do. I am speaking now, you are listening to me. All this is partly due to this complex cortex. Of course, inside the brain, we'll talk about the inside of the brain later. There are also other regions, of course. So if you look along the years, in terms of evolution, this is million of years, and this is brain weight. And you can see that the brain weight along this million of years became larger and larger. And about 200,000 years ago, around this period, the Homo sapiens sapiens emerged on Earth. And through this period, which is what we call the cultural evolution, there is no change in the genome of the species. That's why I can say that we are Homo sapiens sapiens. So there is no genetical change. There is no new genes of these species, but there are new things that these species are doing. We create art about 30 to 60,000 years ago. With the same brain, we created language, written language, very, very recently, with the same brain that already existed 200,000 years. We created other things. We create science as we know it today, very systematic studying, mathematical approach, and so forth. Modern computers, very recently, cell phones, information technology, internet, and very, very recently, as I said, 100 years old or so, we are trying to understand our own brain, using our own brain, with our own tools that we developed in order to understand the brain. Notice, just as a curiosity, as a little joke, if you look at the weight of the brain, you can see that it drops along the 10,000 years or so ago. So our brain shrinks, not now when we speak or hear, but along the last 10,000 years, the weight of the brain drops. This does not mean that we become less intelligent. Absolutely not. It means that we need less weight, so to speak, in order to do all the things that we do. There are many theories. Why do we shrink? But that's not part of the talk. So this is a kind of a broad overview about what happened to the human brain until it got into this cultural evolution where there is no genetic change anymore, but there is a lot of creativity. And so, of course, the fundamental question and the beautiful question is, what happens to this brain that already exists 200,000 years, that generates constantly new things with the same physics, so to speak? What is the physics that enables us to create again and again? I'm not going to answer this question because we don't completely understand what is unique in our brain that makes us creative, but it's a point to note. And I also wanted to tell you about the blossoming of things in the world. So let's stop for a second and we'll continue in a few minutes.